Welcome, everybody, to Innate Interviews. I am Dr. Haig John, and I've got John McAtamney here, and I am so happy to have you. We had a little scheduling issues in the beginning, and I'm stoked because I was in the Keys, actually, with your backdrop back there live, and so we were just putting this off a couple of days. My brother, I'm so happy to have you face-to-face again, and welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Haig.
So, tell us a little bit about you, John. I've known you for a little while, and we were just at New Beginnings together, and we have another one coming up in October. I'm excited about that. Tell me what got you into practice. What was your first adjustment like? What inspired you to become a chiropractor?
In a nutshell, my first thing, I was basically heading to be a veterinarian, and when I was in my mid-teens, I got really sick, and I came under the fingers of a chiropractor and had what they call a chiropractic miracle. I laid down sick and got up well. I looked at him and I went, "What the heck was that?" And he goes, "You had to take your foot off the hose, kiddo." It was about
as simple as that.
It was that simple.
I mean, that's a mic drop moment, right?
Everything at that point, everything changed, and I just everything about my life became heading to chiropractic.
Well, you said something so important. That little thing of pressure on a nerve. Like your foot's on a hose. You're not getting the water to your beautiful, tomato plants, right? Which means also our organs, if we look at the nerves. So a little bone out of place might seem like something small, but it's really something big.
As I tell the mamas in my office when we're talking to the kids, when there's interference of any kind, life does not express itself the way it was designed, because life expresses intelligence. I learned that from Dr. Genio.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that rings through our entire philosophy base of chiropractic, right?
Absolutely.
The vibration of life from our innate intelligence, from our spirit, holds all this material stuff together in an intelligent way.
You're an expression of a living spirit.
There you go. Absolutely.
Wearing a meat suit, as I call it.
That's what I call it. I call it too. I'm like, we're just walking around in a big meat bag, right? We're meat bags expressing this beautiful life. And I say it is in service, right? Mm-hmm. And where we're serving the people chiropractic care because they deserve it. Like Dee Palmer said, the denizens of the earth deserve chiropractic.
Well, it's simple. My belief is that everybody has the right to be checked for nerve interference and adjusted if necessary. That's why I'm on Sherman's ROAR committee, and I'm on the Life Force committee, because I think if you understand chiropractic and you want to pursue it as a career, you should have the option of doing that as well.
Well, I got to Life Force. We did our Save the Babies during the Life Force weekend. We had a lot of the Life Force docs, tons of students come in, and I got to go in and join in at the Life Force weekend a little bit, and the amazing energy of a lot of these. There were undergraduate students, there were even some high school students that wanted to get, they were getting into the undergrad program to get towards the chiropractic program even. And it was an amazing, powerful, the energy in there was actually very palpable. I'm so excited I got to be a part of that.
Well, that's the power of, like, with New Beginnings, for example. I understood the philosophy in my own way, but going to New Beginnings over the years, and I'm 30 years in practice, but I've been going to New Beginnings for probably the last 16 or 17 years. And I describe it this way: you learn to think like a chiropractor, which means you look at things from above down, inside out. You look for how the body's expressing itself. As Didi said, chiropractic helps you to conform to the world, not, the world doesn't conform to you. That's the whole thing. How do you vibrate at a higher level? How do you keep it all together and move forward? And New Beginnings basically was a big part of that. It become my family, my community. Our next event is October 16th through the 19th down on the Jersey Shore. And, the weekend starts with Big Jim DeBell walking up and give you a big hug saying, "Welcome home." So anybody who hasn't been there, make sure you come on down to New Beginnings. Find your tribe.
I've been going to New Beginnings since I was in school. I'd come with Pasquale Sarasoli, and, I would I didn't have I was a student. I didn't have a shekel to my name, and I'd sneak in and hang out in the back and watch all these, amazing chiropractors, people that have done it, right? That have gone through the ups and downs, and they were there to share with you whatever I needed in the moment. Hey, let me give you a little of this. I had some people just, words of wisdom that I needed in the moment. And that entire room, there's somebody that has been through the same thing that you've been, right? Gotten through it, and you're there to, lend an ear, or add a little bit of advice. It's an amazing group. So I've been going since about 2000, 2001, something like that. I've been going to New Beginnings, but I took a little hiatus, and I've been back now, and I actually love being in the energy of that room. Truly amazing group.
Well, there's an old idea, right, that says where you put two minds together, you get more than two minds. You put a room full of like-minded chiropractors in that kind of a room, it becomes a life-changing experience, and it becomes an energy point that you can basically use to jump off and go back to your community and change that community.
And you touched on something really important for that too, is that, when the chiropractor is not an entity into his or herself. In reality, we represent a community each of the people that we serve in our office, whether we're seeing them, next week, or we saw them a year ago. They're still part of our community. And the message that we teach of life, you are powerful. You're limitless. Your body can heal. You're a portion of God, right? That piece right there, we share that with our community. Our communities get stronger, right?
It's a new gospel to them. A lot of them have, the COVID shook things up quite a bit, but a lot of them have forgotten that they are designed and born to heal.
That's exactly right. Very often, and I've got a lot of friends. Friends I've even gone to high school with. I've talked chiropractic to them, and it doesn't always get through the thick skull. Not everybody can hear the message.
I'm a little more gentle about that, because I've talked to chiropractors that have been in through school, and it doesn't get through their skull. So imagine if you're talking to people who've never had the benefit of a chiropractic education. Sometimes they have a harder time, but even the chiropractors have a harder time. That's why a place like New Beginnings, because it breaks through all of your defenses and basically gets down to your heart place, where you can basically accept your limitations and realize that you need help and that you're part of a bigger community, so that you can go out and change things, and you have courage. That's the big thing. Most, get into the place where you have enough certainty to be courageous. When you're not courageous and you don't have enough certainty, that's when you start making so many different compromises.
Yeah, that's big. The courage, having the courage to just step out the door and tell some people that, hey, you set up a booth at a screening, or you go and do a talk, or you meet somebody just in a restaurant and say, hey, I really see you struggling. It's not about the pain for us, but if we can help someone, and then we educate them, then they educate their children about the innate intelligence within them, right? We're effectively changing the world. Each time.
That up, I just spent the last hour writing a new handout for my pediatric patients and their moms, basically breaking down and explaining chiropractic real simple, so that the kids can understand it. But if the kids can understand it, so can the moms.
Exact same thing in my office. When I have kids come in the office, especially because, we get moms and dads, they bring like an extra kid. They're going to do a play date, bring them home, stop for your adjustment on the way home. I always quiz that kid. I'm like, what do you know about chiropractic? And now in the past, like 5 or 6 years, maybe even 10 years, a lot of those kids say, oh yeah, my parents take us to the chiropractor too. Whether it's me or not, they go to another chiropractor. And then I say, well, what have they taught you about chiropractic? And now I'm not picking on the chiropractor, but a lot of them are like, they crack my back, but they don't know why. And just having that little bit of education, well, where does life come from? Where's your brain first, I say? And then where does life come from? And all these things, we ask them those questions, and like, oh my gosh, no one's explained chiropractic to me, to a 10-year-old, right? Or an 8-year-old. And they get it like that. Once you do it in a logical way, they get it. But then also the parents just heard it like, oh yeah, now I get it a little bit more. And then the patients waiting in the waiting room, oh wow, I heard it too. Putting it in simple terms.
Specific point that BJ made a couple of times. It says charge for the principal, give the adjustment free. The idea is make sure people understand the principle. That's like, Joe D'Onofrio up here in Jersey, you say your education is the most, so the orientation is the most important thing you do, even more important than the adjustment. Making sure that people understand what chiropractic is about and why they should use it as a lifestyle part of it's not it's not primarily for treatment, it's for lifestyle management. Joe D'Onofrio was big on that out here in Jersey, part of the Chiropractic Trust. That idea about making sure that the education is clear.
When my mother had a bypass surgery, she had 2 bypasses. And I remember going to the doctor with her, and he gave her basically an orientation about cardiology and her heart and all those things. And I thought, wow, this is the first one. The guy didn't say anything, just said, you need it, you better do it or you're going to die. This guy explained things. This was before I was a chiropractor. And, I thought, wow, how powerful that is. You're empowering the person with knowledge. And really, it rested her fears, right? And then I realized that in practice, I used to do Wednesday night at 6 p.m., Friday at noon. And if those didn't work, I'd say I see you at 7 a.m. on Monday, And I've loosened up a little bit. I do Friday afternoons now. But that education part, I've had so many people come to me and share the same type of thing. Like, thank you. My mother told me not to see a chiropractor, my grandma, my neighbor, blah, blah, blah. And I just felt like it was right, but I didn't really know why I was here. I know that's an odd thing, but I didn't know why I was here. And they said, there are no chances. I had a woman just tell me that the other day. I feel like I was divinely driven in here, and I know things are going to change in my life. Not that I'm going to feel better, but my life is going to change. That's what she expressed to me.
Well, I take an opportunity when that happens. I say, now you know there are no coincidences.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A coinky dink. I wanted to ask you about this. You've been in practice for a little while. When did you start practice? How long you been in practice?
Since June 6, 1993. I got my license. I graduated on the 16th of April. I got my license on the 21st of May, and I opened my doors on the 6th of June, 1993.
Good for you. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
Ride, baby. I've seen so much over the last we're in the 33rd year. Seen so much over the 32, 33 years that how much has changed, how much different, how much is still the same. I was involved politically for a long time. I was district president for Brooklyn, Queens, and then became an executive officer for the New York Chiropractic Council, which is a high-level sort of business part of running the organization. When I got tired of that because I didn't want to go any further up, I stepped down. I became the district president for Nassau. I'm still work as the CE coordinator and committee head for the council. So I do that. I run the Long Island Band of Brothers, which is it was used to be in-office meeting, but COVID and Sandy changed things here on Long Island. So we meet on Zoom. You've blessed us with your presence. We meet every 2 weeks, and it's something that I do because I think much more need for the philosophy than a lot of the young docs are getting, and it becomes an avenue that we can basically keep the philosophy moving and developing.
The most important thing, absolutely, is that camaraderie, the philosophy, and being with people, not only chiropractors, but people that are like-minded, and creating that safe place, really, of where you can go as a professional, your chiropractors, and having those meetings are extremely important. I hosted them in my office for 17 years at our Band of Brothers. And, I haven't switched to online because getting people to show up changed. And I see that it changed as the philosophy, and we see the chiropractic itself, what people understood about chiropractic started to change. And, but I think it's changing back because I just had a student, she just graduated and said, I didn't get any philosophy. Our school didn't even have a green book. And that's what our philosophy is in the green books by BJ Palmer mostly. And, she said, once she got out, she started really looking for these green books and started off practice $800 in her pocket. And I'm so proud of her. We're trying to get her New Beginnings right now from Texas. And she said, I'm so excited, just thrilled to buy chiropractic, telling everybody, because we can hope all we want, but we've got to get up and tell that story to people. and shake hands, kiss babies, and really just be a human. You can't get that humanity through social media as well. You got to get up and go tell people. The same thing with getting together with like-minded chiropractors, and that's the power of new beginnings. And absolutely. Being in that room, you might not get, a speaker. You might pick a tidbit from this one and something from that one and something from that one that you could take home to improve what I always say is the service to humanity.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to serve humanity.
Yeah. D.D. Palmer said it. It's like, it's the denizens of the earth that deserve chiropractic care.
Yep. Well, we talk about Didi, and you brought up that quote a couple of times. My favorite quote from Didi is, there's no greater work than bending your knee to relieve the suffering of a child.
Wow. I love that one. I got to find that quote. I'm going to post that one.
It's in the first book. So, but it's basically, think about, when I look at it this way, after 33 years, we live a sort of a blessed life because we get to work with our hands. We don't need anything else. I can basically adjust people outside my office, in my office. I've been on mission trips. You don't need any special equipment. But they vibrate differently. They get up off the table. They're smiling. Something's different about them. The one patient, you talk about things, one patient that stands out in my mind. I have a man that comes in. He's probably in his early 60s. He came in with a right shoulder and a low back problem. And we started working on him. And I said to him after 12 visits, I said, look, we just did a re-exam. I said, I'm not really sure. I said, what we're going to do. I said, your low back problem's still there. I said, it's a chronic issue. I said, tell me what you want to do. And he goes, Doc, he says, my back pain and my shoulder is still there. He goes, but I don't yell at my staff anymore. He says, you just tell me how often I need to come in, because he says, I'm a much happier person. And, it was interesting because it was a pivotal moment for me when the patient said that, and I reaffirmed it with the patient. But basically, it changed how I communicate with people about what they're looking for and what's possible. Sometimes the innate intelligence that we're working with does things different than we would like to deign that we are in charge of. So,
well, it's not up to us, right? What changes in you?
But think about how humbling that is. You're not really in charge. You might be the key holder. You know what locks to turn. And then you just step back and let that innate intelligence make the changes that are more primary for that person.
That's really beautifully said, because people say, I just want you to get rid of my neck pain. I'm like, I can't get rid of your neck pain. I can help your body heal itself in the right time. It might be your liver that needs to get better first, and your stomach, your eyeballs, your prostate. Who knows? Your body knows what it needs far better than I do. That's the doctor within. That's the part of you that we work with, is what our conversations are in our office.
And you just basically outlined the very simple understanding of chiropractic. We release the innate intelligence. We're not in charge of things. And that's the big thing, I think, where a lot of chiropractors get stuck. When I was young in practice, I said, I read the books. I know what has to happen. And I've been humbled a number of times because the body that's on the table knows more than me. And I had to realize that.
By far. And, I still have those moments when you have, Mrs. Old Lady on the table, 90 years old, and you want her sciatic to go away. I don't want the woman to suffer, right? But I'm not treating. The word treatment is for the problem. It's not for the person. So we care for the person. But, even me, I want them to be well. I want them to walk out and skip out of there, but it doesn't happen that way all the time. Like I say, there could be something else far more important than your sciatic pain going away. I want to tell a little story because this relates to my mom. Actually, my mom, she had one functioning kidney, and I just moved down from New York. I was practicing the Upper East Side, living with my dad, doing house calls, moved back to Florida, and I started adjusting my mom. And first, all her heart disease numbers and everything else went away. They were going to do a third bypass. Didn't need to do it ever again. Everything got better. But she had one functioning kidney for about 50 years. And what's happened, that her sciatic pain got worse and worse and worse and worse. But what was happening, we went for an ultrasound of her kidney that she did every 6 months, is the shriveled up little prune of a kidney was growing up to 8 centimeters and starting to function again. Now, if I treated her back pain and her sciatic, God forbid, the sciatic pain went away too fast, and then stopped adjusting her or something like that, that kidney may have never healed.
You know, what's interesting, you had the certainty to do that because you had the right roots. You mentioned before, Pasquale, Dr. Pat, he was such a foundational person, we'll call it that, because he's more than a person. He's such a foundational place for all the docs that were in this area, and you started out here. And that's why I say people need to get to New Beginnings, especially the young docs. You have to get a right foundation. You got to get around the right tribe. You got around the right people that can help you connect to your heart and think like a chiropractor, because part of that is releasing the responsibility, releasing the need to make a change, and realize that when you're adjusting something, all the needs are already fulfilled. It's basically you just help the body get enough energy to move itself where it needs to go.
And then it's up to them, right? And we have to let go. We deliver the adjustment. I don't even know where that bone is supposed to be. INNATE knows far better than anyone outside of it. And BJ and DD Palmer talked about that. As we move that bone, we influence it. And INNATE says, look, this is the best place for us right now. And our intellectual judgment, if we want to look at it in that sense, because I love technique. I've developed my own multiple techniques. I love them. I love the history of them. All of them, we have to realize we influence the bone. Everyone, Clarence Gonstead, everyone said it's up to innate intelligence from this point on. Then we have to step away.
Good old Clarence.
Good old Clarence.
Interesting.
Become one with the bone literally changed my life, and I'm still understanding it more and more all the time. Clarence said, become one with the bone. And I used to visualize just thinking, being connected to that bone.
Foundation Gonstead?
What's that?
Your foundation Gonstead?
I have some foundation in Gonstead.
You're not a gondroid, as they say, right?
I'm not a gondroid, but hey, I respect Gonstead very much.
Absolutely.
And I take a lot of those principles into practice. But what he said, becoming one with the bone, within the past 10 years or so, I've been in practice 21 years now, becoming one with the bone, and I've now just become part of that bone. It takes so much less to actually make the change to deliver that influence because we're vibrating at that same tone at that point.
You know, it's interesting. When I was on mission trip, and I'd heard docs talk about it, but the mission trip is the first place I've ever seen it where you're in such a place energetically, and in such a different exchange with the person on the table. You're seeing hundreds of people a day. Literally, as you touch the people, things change. Like their bones move. You don't have to even thrust.
Yeah,
you just touch them, and you know, in Haiti, because Dr. Peter Morgan, who runs it in Haiti, they call us the touch healers. You just touch them, and all of a sudden things move and change. You know, there's something beyond our level of understanding when it comes to healing, and it comes to the change that we can make with our hands. But I think that the main difference is when our hands are guided by our heart versus our head. That's where miracles happen.
Yep, leaving the intellect out of it. And that's a hard thing to do, you know, especially for me. My wife will tell you, my hard head is probably harder than most. But, you know, and let go and let God is what Sigafus actually taught us as well. Just you got to let go and let God. If you try and control it, that's when you're going to see it all fall apart.
Yeah, Jim said the more you hold on to it, the more slips through your fingers.
There you go. I like that one. I like it. Well, Doc, I'm just going to give a couple of shameless plugs right now. You know, join us on our Synapse Philosophy podcast. We do that on Tuesday nights live, and then we post them on Spotify and YouTube. Everyone's allowed to share. We're on page 719. We're going to do tonight at 8 p.m. 719 and DD Palmer's 1914. I'm getting them all mixed up. 1910 book, The Chiropractor's Adjuster. We're 3/4 of the way through. We're probably read more and discussed and read them out loud more of 1910 book from D.D. Palmer than 90% of the chiropractors living today. So I'm excited about that one.
Because I've been on your CNS podcast a couple of times. A lot of people have read B.J. Green books, but until you read D.D. and you realize the level of genius that man had, that's why find D.D.'s books. They're harder to find, but get D.D.'s books and spend time because he was an absolute genius.
A genius. And these guys, I mean, he was speaking in quantum physics language before it was even a thought, before Schrodner and his cat, right?
Yep.
And then when you read Stevenson's, you see that same type of language. Like these guys were, explaining things in quantum physics and making up language for us to understand it and doing it very eloquently, quite honestly. It's amazing. I'm enamored by it every time we read it. And same with B.J. Palmer. Absolutely incredible.
Well, they had a very, very powerful understanding of the metaphysics, which is one of the branches of philosophy. And through that, they understood things. They used different language because the language hadn't been developed. We're talking late 1800s, early 1900s. That when you read, now we can read Stevenson, and you read it and go, this is quantum physics.
Yeah.
But the idea is that the idea that everything is connected, everything is interchanged, and it relies and responds to each other, and that's what the whole idea of innate intelligence is about. But those books, too many people have not read them. Too many people have poo-pooed them. The way I tell people is, if you want to become critical about chiropractic, study it first. And that means study the science, study the art, but you also have to study philosophy because we're a three-legged stool. It's the science, art, and philosophy of natural healing called chiropractic. And you have to basically look at each part of that. You got to study the science, study the arts, and also study the philosophy. And if any of you study them and you say, I reject it, then it's at least a studied idea. And that's your own choice. But most of the time when you study the science, art, and philosophy, you can accept it because you realize the truth.
That's absolutely true. And then it becomes you. When you have that wisdom, just like reading the Bible, if it was just a novel, you read it once, oh, it's done, it wouldn't have lasted through the ages. You're reading it and seeing it or hearing it with new eyes, new ears every time. Same thing with our philosophy. In our podcast, we've gone through the 1914 book multiple times. 1910 is taking us a while to get through. It's 1,000 pages. And same thing with Stevenson. We've done that multiple times because each time we see it differently because our experience in life has changed. And the importance of that, it's just a book. I don't need to be around other chiropractors. I'm just doing this for my continuing education, whatever it is. That's a different vibration from someone like, Johnny Mack, and how excited you are to take care of somebody today, to serve them. Like you're saying, there's nothing more important than a bent knee to a child. Say that again, please.
He said there's nothing more powerful than bending the knee to help a sick child.
There you go. Exactly. To have that vibration coming through you, that resonates out to the universe, and God and the universe are going to bring that stuff back to you, the people that you can serve, and you can be an asset to their life.
Dude, I was in practice for a long time, and let's see, is 25 years, and that's when I said, oh, and I ended up at 25 years in practice. I went back to school and got my certification as a family chiropractor. I got perinatal certification. I got certified in Webster. I went back to school because I see things changing. I see the kids sicker than ever I've seen them before. We live in a different world than it was 33 years ago. And I see more challenges, more sick kids, and the kids need more help. And the parents are also confused about why the kids are sick.
Well, and they're looking for someone they can trust and talk to and give them good information. That's not swayed by bonuses and big pharma or what have you. We don't get anything from that, but we can love someone and say, let's help find the answers for you. Should you do this? Should you do that? Which cleared the subluxations. Now it's really up to them. And, they get a lot of bad information or weird information out there. So very often, it's the light that we're shining from our experience. You have 31 years of experience. My gosh, taking care of babies and mommies and everybody else. You know, you've got a lot to share.
Well, thank you for the invitation today. I look forward to seeing you in October at down in the Jersey Shore.
All right, buddy. God bless you. One more shameless plug. October 24th and 25th. It's INNATE newborn adjusting and subluxation analysis that I'm hosting at Life University. So we're putting it out there. Go to drhaigjohn.com and we'll have all of Dr. McAtamney's information in the description for this video. Any links or anything you have, you send them over to me and we'll get that going. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you for sharing your time with us, and God bless you, and I'll see you at New Beginnings in October.
All the best, buddy. Take care, man.
Thank you.